This is Shelley Craft coming to you on SNN Network with a Wall Street View with Brien Lundin, CEO of this conference and also editor of Gold Newsletter. We're coming to you from the 45th Annual New Orleans Investment Conference 2019 here in New Orleans. Brien, welcome to your Wall Street View.
Great to be with you, Shelley, as always.
Well, it's another year, 45.
45.
And you're only 36. How did you do it? So let's talk about the conference. Tell us a little bit about what people come and what they expect.
Sure. The conference is 45 years. I didn't start it. It was started by a man named Jim Blanchard, who basically started in 1971 when Nixon closed the gold window. He started advocating for the return of the right of gold ownership for American citizens. Interestingly enough, you weren't allowed to own gold at the time. He was successful in that. He started Gold Newsletter in 1971 to advocate for that. In 1974, he was successful in getting it legalized, and he had a conference, decided to have a conference to teach American investors how to invest in gold. That's what this became. That was in 1974. Again, this is our 45th year.
They're still coming.
And they're still coming. As you can see, the halls are packed right now. And for a lot of reasons. They come every year to get what we bring to them in the form of objective, independent experts, world-renowned experts on our stage that focus on geopolitics, economics, and then drill into various investment sectors, every investment sector. We also have a common theme of focusing on individual freedom, small government, free minds, free money, and as part of that, gold, silver, metals, and mining investments that are raised to leverage those commodities, those monetary metals. So they come every year for that, and they have for 45 years. This year, the halls are kind of bustling because we're in a situation where the metals have been rising for months now.
There's a little glimmer to gold.
Oh, and there's a glimmer in my eye, too, with that, because it helps everyone out, because we're heavily invested in the sector as well. But for very fundamental reasons, gold and silver are moving higher and seem very likely to do so over the next few years, if not a very significant multi-year trend. So we have a confirmed bull market in the metals, yet these junior mining stocks have yet to really move. They're still at bargain basement levels, some of them at all-time lows. So it's an opportunity now where you know that the big mega trend is behind you and the specific areas to leverage that trend are still very affordable at rock bottom levels. So that's why we're getting a lot more people this year and a lot more. They're very excited. They're finding a lot of opportunities in our exhibit hall. And it's just a wonderful situation, I think, for people to find fantastic opportunities in the sector.
Now, you spoke at your own conference, correct?
Yes, I did, and I always do.
What did you cover this time?
Pretty much just what I told you, the fact that it's a window of opportunity. If you look at, and one of the things I focus on is the debt situation. Debts have grown so large, particularly in the U.S., that we can never have normalized interest rates again because we can't service the debt at anything approaching normal interest rates. In fact, the cost to service a debt just explode if you have anything above a negative real interest rate. In other words, a real interest rate, one that's adjusted for inflation. So you have to have negative real rates now because the debt is so large. Negative real rates are tremendously bullish for precious metals, for gold and silver leveraging gold's moves.
Another thing that's been going on in the past year and will probably continue, and I'd like your comment on this, is the mergers and acquisitions in the industry. Mm-hmm.
That's a big thing, and it's a growing trend. You know, the majors have not replaced their gold reserves, and they desperately have to. It's becoming harder and harder to find really large, meaningful gold deposits and silver deposits. So they rely on the juniors in the sector to go out and find those deposits. Then they either buy the projects or buy the junior companies. And that typically results in a very profitable experience for the investors in those junior companies. In some cases, we're talking multiples 4 or 5 times, even 10 or more times in value for these junior companies. So that's why people are focusing on those companies in our area here. The other thing is that some of the majors are merging, and as part of those mergers, some really good projects are going to fall out, and smaller companies will pick those up. And that's another area of opportunity, and that's another thing that's represented in our exhibit hall right now.
So we have a large millennial audience.
Yes.
What would you say to our millennial audience about investing in gold and gold stocks and juniors in particular, and the entire precious metals market?
Well, they need, don't be intimidated by it because it can be a complicated subject, but it can be simplified. The first thing people need to do is get a significant precious metals holding of physical metals, bullion, that they own, gold and silver, and there are ways to do that in your possession where you have access to them. Then you can look at ways to leverage the moves in gold and silver, which, as I mentioned, seem to be on a trend that is really undeniable right now and unstoppable due to the debt issues. So you want to leverage that trend. If you want to go into more speculative areas, you get into the mining companies. You can get less speculative by the major mining companies, which will respond to the moves in gold, but not as much as the junior sector. The further down the food chain you go into the junior sector, the more leverage you get. But you need to educate yourself in that sector. Subscribe to the best newsletters, go to the conferences, talk to the companies, and just take it slowly and learn about the sector. Conferences like this are a great way to do it. We actually have a free report on our website at goldnewsletter.com, an investor's guide to gold and silver. It explains everything about investing in the sector.
And how did they get that newsletter?
They go to goldnewsletter.com and they click on a box and give their first name and email address, and it's emailed directly to them, immediate access.
So as part of what we ask about to a newsletter writer is, what's your disclaimer on the letter?
Well, the newsletter reflects companies that I may or may not own, but it's totally merit-based. It's companies that I think have the potential generally to about double in value over the next year or so for our readers. That's the kind of returns I look at as like a minimum level to clear for this sector for my readers. I may or may not own the stocks. I disclose which stocks I do own in that sector, but it's purely merit-based. And it's a paid-for subscription.
Let's give that website one more time.
goldnewsletter.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, Brien Lundin, CEO of this conference, the New Orleans Investment Conference, and he's the editor of Gold Newsletter. This is Shelley Kraft bringing you a Wall Street view on SNN Network from the 45th Annual New Orleans Investment Conference 2019, right here in good old New Orleans. Thanks for having us, Brien.
Thank you, Shelley. Great to be with you.